Hello out there, you budding group of spiritual consciousness. Welcome. It's good to see you all. I hope everyone's doing well in their lives and life is chugging along with this the crazy world that we are currently in. And I wanted to actually sort of talk a little bit about tonight or today prayer and the power of prayer, the power of thought. We hear people talk about all the time, positive thinking. And that is true. Positive thinking will help, and it will definitely set you up for good experiences or the possibility of them, because that's what it does. It's not going to make the experience, but it does put you in a mindset where in a framework where you're able to sort of have a better sense of what's a better experience for you to be involved with, as opposed to one that can be detrimental to you. And I wanted to give some examples about prayer, either ones that I've had or ones that I know that other people have had. And in particular, this one was to do with healing. And I may have brought this one up before, but it's such a powerful one that regardless, it deserves repeating. I remember I was working with an autistic lad, and he was about 6 or 7 years of age, and we were involved in a therapeutic riding association. And so we went to get him ready for his ride, and we were headed towards the barn, etc., where they took kids on and put them on the horses. And so as we were headed towards the barn, another rider with the therapist and the two walkers and the lead. There was a lead walker for the horse, two walkers either side of the child on the saddle, and the therapist. And of course, this was all done for safety, etc. And as they came around from behind the barn, and I looked over, I saw the most beautiful light that surrounded everybody, including the horse. Everybody was in this absolutely beautiful bubble of light. And inside the light, from the spirit world, I saw up beside the boy on the horse a monk and a nun in the spirit world, and standing beside the therapist was a therapist from spirit, speaking into the ear of the therapist here. The feeling was utterly peaceful, just stellar, beautiful. You could not have wanted anything better. And I thought, okay, well, I'm gonna have to be careful how I, bring this up, if I bring it up at all with them, because you never know exactly, what you're in for. So, as they came into the barn, it was obvious that the mother was with them, and I looked at her, and all I said was, "He had a really good day, didn't he?" And her face, she just about broke into tears, and she said, "You have no idea. He's been here now for 4 or 5 weeks. We've tried 5 or 6 different horses, because sometimes they tried 2 or 3 horses in a session to see if he would settle. And he wouldn't settle on any of the horses. The horses were almost bucking him off. This was going to be the last night that they were going to try with him, because if he didn't settle down, there were no more horses and he was going to have to leave the program." And when she was telling me this, I said, "Well, what happened? What changed?" And I kind of knew what part of that answer was going to be. And she said, "I prayed every day. I prayed while I was driving. I prayed when I was shopping, grocery shopping. I prayed when I was at home. I prayed when I was working." She said, "I just asked for so much help from God, from whatever." And I thought to myself, "Oh, honey, you got it. Boy, did you get it. That was brilliant." And what it showed me so much, and just even outside of the healing that was given for this young man and all those people, because they were all like, "Oh, this was one of the best sessions we've ever done with anybody. He was beautiful. He was calm. He wasn't hitting the horse. He wasn't jumping up and down on the horse. It was just an absolutely magical moment." It doesn't matter who you are. Thoughts are energy and vibration. the intent is energy and vibration, and the purer the intent. And what I mean by that, it's not that you're a pure being, because you haven't done anything wrong in your life and that you're just so elevated from everybody else. That's not it. What it is the intent is so from the heart, the pleading, the needing, the asking for help. It's earnest, it's real, it's necessary. And something happened for her and that group. And anybody that approaches prayer in that way, I will guarantee you will have more results than if you just sit there and do repetitive prayers that have no real meaning or heart in them. And that doesn't mean that a repetitive prayer cannot have power with it. It really depends on the person who's saying the prayer. The gratitude out of this lady was wonderful. The power of thought, though, in that way, directed in that way, does a couple of things. People, there's thinking in the world of mysticism, and in certain religious theologies, that the God power is a passive active power, which means, particularly for humans, because we're conscious, we can direct our thoughts, we can control our thoughts to some degree, sometimes more than others, and sometimes they don't get controlled at all, but those are different issues. A passive active power, so the God power really doesn't step into your life until you ask for it, until something in you sparks, usually out of need. That's part of the reason why we're here in physical form. That's the whole part of reincarnation and the growth of the soul, but that's another video yet to come. When we ask for help in that way, really on our knees, with real need, that power becomes active. Now, it may only be active for a while or for a period of time with us, because it's not just a one-off. We have to work at building that connection. That's up to us. And it's not like it's being withheld from us for any, reason. It's not a malevolent kind of joke, ha ha on you. It's, oh, you're a conscious being. You've been created, both biologically and spiritually. Now, something just happened here. Do you have the brains to keep that line of communication open? And it's got to come from us. We have to pick up the phone, and we have to do the first call. And then we have to keep the lines of communication open. If we drop the line of communication on our side, the other side sort of has to go, okay, well, we just have to wait now. Because they really aren't in a position to come knocking too often. It can, and historically it has been known to happen. But generally speaking, they have to wait for us to ask for help. Because the help that they can give can only be done to some degree within our understanding of what the divine, the spirit world, God, however we view it, is. It makes perfect sense. Think of it this way. Thought impinges upon matter. Matter does not impinge upon thought. That's basic physics. But that was proved, it's been proved many times in many ways, but it was definitely proved by the early spiritualists, particularly with ectoplasm. Because ectoplasm is a substance that is molded and formed by the spirit world to be used to make physical communication in our world. And for me, I look at it, it seems pretty 101 and pretty simple. But if you really haven't thought of it this way, you could be, just a second. Okay, so some people find it a little scary. I find it rather exciting, and isn't it wonderful? But it's just simply because we have to do the asking. Sometimes pleading. Have you ever had someone who's dying that you really want to live? It may not be in the cards that even for asking for all the healing and all the power and all the great healers in the spirit world to be with you to save this person, that may not happen because it may not be what's supposed to. But I will guarantee you, even if you do that, you're going to find that there are some wonderful moments along the way that other people who haven't reached out in that way have never had. And then people say, well, Alan, that's unfair because, everybody deserves to be cared for and loved by that power, and they should know that they are cared for and loved by that power. Yeah, well, look at all the people who don't even think that there's anything beyond tomorrow. They don't think they're going to go anywhere when they leave this body, even with all now, particularly now, because it's all over the internet, YouTube, all the near-death experience discussions. People have been interviewed and Raymond Moody's book from the 1970s, the very first one ever written about life after life. And these people 30 years, 40, 50 years on now are putting it on YouTube and new ones, people in the last 2 or 3 years, last year, who've had near-death experiences, very deep ones that go very much beyond just floating in the room, going up through the tunnel, the light, going beyond the light, seeing some premonitions of things to come in their lives, and then giving the choice of either, well, you can stay or go back, or some just, you have to go back because there's no way you're finished yet. And people are still like, well, that's a hallucination. Yeah, okay, sure, sure. You can hallucinate like that. Okay, well, boy, start selling those drugs because you're going to have a real lineup of people wanting them. Yeah, you really wonder. But everybody has to come to it in their own time. Everybody has to find their way with it. And it's many lifetimes that we go through this. It's not one. It's kind of silly to think it's just one. There's too many experiences. There's too many possible encounters to have and understanding life and ourselves in the deepest possible way. But thought, prayer works. It is powerful. If you're praying when you're walking around and asking for goodness and light and love for all the people that you walk past, and that thought takes that much of your time, and there's something in your heart that's stirring for that, you're doing something. You don't even realize it. You're giving off a type of healing. You're giving off an energy that may just work its way through someone else's consciousness, and it just may touch them in a way that they can't even begin to understand. And you, by the way, will never know, because all you're doing is doing. That's all you have to do. And an effect will happen. I've seen so many times in various places. I remember being in some really awful meetings. We've all been there, bored or just bad, and everything's going down the tubes. And I remember many times just sitting there and thinking, oh, come on, somebody say the right words. Give me the right words. I'm asking the spirit world and God. Or give somebody the right words to say so that we can move things along and we can get to the point. I am not kidding. Within 30 seconds of every time I ever did that, something would happen. I might say a phrase, it might come through somebody else. But all of a sudden, the whole vibration of the room would change, and everybody would just go, well, yeah, hey, that's great. Okay, that's better. Yeah, all right, let's move on. Let's finish this up. Great. Got an answer. Excellent. Let's go. It's so easy, but so difficult to remember. We have our two minds. We have the physical mind and we have the spiritual mind. The two of them create consciousness. You can't have consciousness just with the physical mind. I mean, it's a lie. That's such a lie. Your spirit mind is the one that goes back with you. All the memories of this lifetime, all the emotional responses, all of it. This is what you take with you when you have your life review. So reach out with your thoughts. Ask God to be in your life in some way, however you conceive that, that tend to be a little unknown or are not aware of what's coming, or is us. And we choose that. We choose to be in these core these bodies to experience. And I think sometimes we don't really figure out why that happens until we get back. But what does it matter? What really matters is if we understand thoughts are powerful, that they're living energies and vibrations, then a lot can be done to help people. A lot can be done to heal people. A lot can just be done. So thank you very much. I hope that was all right. I'm in a different place tonight, obviously, if some of you have seen my other videos, and I am moving around right now, so they're going to be, I'll be spot checking in different places in the next month or so. So be well. God bless you guys.